The United States is expected to be in for another severe weather outbreak as we approach the weekend, and right behind the severe weather outbreak, we could see a significant Arctic blast that will bring temperatures well below average, which is definitely going to be a stark contrast from what we're seeing right now, where we're seeing record warmth throughout many areas of the United States. If we were to take a look at what the GFS model is stating at this time, we of course have this big ridge that's centered right over the eastern half of the United States that's bringing much warmer than average conditions, and we're seeing temperatures that could rise up into the 80s, the upper 80s in some portions of the northern United States, which is near record breaking at times. So if you're into the summer like conditions, it is definitely the week to enjoy those types of conditions, because again, like I said, there's going to be severe weather outbreak that's expected to move through the Midwest, and behind it we're going to see an Arctic blast that should not only bring temperatures back down to earth for much of the United States, but much colder than average in some cases, where you could experience snow in some areas of the Great Lakes. But moving forward with what the GFS model is stating, the main catalyst in developing this severe weather outbreak in the United States will be this trough that's going to come off the Pacific Northwest coast, and we of course easily see the recipe that will set the stage for a severe weather outbreak to develop in the Midwest. We see plenty of cold air behind this trough, along with heavy snowfall just to the northwest of this low pressure system. And since we're seeing a huge ridge centered over the United States that's bringing much warmer than average conditions, as well as much more humid than average conditions to many of these areas, since of course the warmer the temperature, the more likely the air mass is going to attain more water vapor, since the air molecules are moving a lot faster, which creates a lot more space for the water vapor to exist in that air mass. So as this trough continues to move forward, we're going to see that cool, dense air interact with the very warm and lightly dense air. That's going to create a lot of lift in the atmosphere in the Midwest for our next severe weather outbreak to develop as early as Saturday, where we do see a pretty large squall line of thunder showers develop right in between Nebraska, Kansas, and we could even see that severe weather extend as far south as Oklahoma and Texas as well, as we approach the Saturday afternoon time frame. And moving forward with the forecast, we see quite a significant jet stream dip where the cold air is located just to the west of this low pressure system, and a very, very warm air mass located just to the east of this trough, where we're seeing just a strong southerly flow that's creating a highly unstable environment for a lot of convective available potential energy to exist in the Midwest. So by Saturday time frame, you need to be aware of severe weather all throughout the Mississippi River Valley, and I'll say that the worst of the severe weather should occur anywhere between Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, where the instability will be at its highest with this storm system, where the temperatures will be just warm enough to hold a lot of water vapor and to produce enough lift. But we're going to see conditions just to the northwest of it, just cold enough to the point where we're going to see plenty of lift and instability in this area. And we're going to see strong wind shear in the upper levels as well, which could lead to the possibility of tornadoes with this severe weather outbreak. And it seems like the European model is also agreeing with this scenario at this time. So I will say that it is likely that by the Saturday time frame, a significant severe weather threat will impact the Mississippi River Valley. So we need to be aware of that as we approach Saturday and even into Sunday in some areas, where we could see some rain showers move into the northeast. And what's interesting is that look right behind this trough, we see plenty of cold air thanks to a strong northwesterly flow that's being induced by this storm system. And we could even see snow in areas as far south as Chicago, Milwaukee. As of right now, the GFS model isn't expecting much of any snowfall accumulation in those areas. Maybe a light amount of snowfall, maybe an inch of snow, but still, seeing snow this late in the season is definitely not something you see every day in the Chicago, especially after experiencing a significant heat wave that you're going to experience over the next several days. So in Chicago, Milwaukee, make sure, although the temperatures are very warm right now, we could easily see those temperatures drop close to, if not below, freezing at times as this Arctic blast moves through, and snow should be a possibility in those areas as well. But we're going to need to wait and see the position of this low pressure system and how much cold air will exactly be behind this trough, because while the European model and the GFS model are showing similar trends when it comes to the trajectory of this low pressure system, as well as the area where it wants to bring the severe weather, there's still disagreements regarding how significant that jet stream dip will be, where the GFS model is more confident that there's going to be a higher level of instability and a higher amount of cold air behind this trough, but the European model isn't necessarily saying the same thing and isn't necessarily agreeing with the GFS model, where the European model is stating that there's going to be less instability and as a result, less likely chance of a significant severe weather outbreak. I'll keep you guys updated to show you guys which of the two computer models trend towards which scenario, because that'll be a key determinant in determining how significant the severe weather threat will be. But I can assure you guys that the Mississippi River Valley and around that and surrounding areas in the Midwest should experience a severe weather threat as we approach this weekend. So keep that in mind and make sure to pay close attention to the Arctic blast that's expected as well right behind this trough, that where we could even see those cold temperatures move into the northeast by early next week. So keep that in mind as well. Now let me show you guys the European model scenario. Actually, just one more thing before I move on to the European model. I want to show you guys the surface-based convective available potential energy levels to really show you guys how much convection there's expected to be as we approach a weekend, which will allow for a higher risk of severe weather. So moving forward with the forecast, we see that convective available potential energy levels should peak right around the Mississippi River Valley by the Saturday afternoon time frame, where we do see convective available potential energy levels in some areas of southern Texas close to 3,000 joules per kilogram, which in a lot of cases that is definitely more than enough to cause a significant severe weather outbreak. And of course, a lot of this energy should move northward up along the Mississippi River Valley. So I will say that the worst of the severe weather will likely occur in the south central portion of the United States, which includes areas surrounding Memphis, Arkansas, and Mississippi as well. But we easily could see that severe weather threat move northward as well into Missouri and Illinois as well, because like I said, there's going to be plenty of instability. And moving forward with the forecast when it comes to the convective available potential energy levels, we do see that we should eventually see some energy move to the East Coast, but it's going to be much less. So I will say that as the storm system approaches the Northeast, the chance of a severe weather outbreak is definitely far less likely, thanks to the fact that the instability just won't be there, the temperatures won't be there, and the cooler Atlantic sea surface temperatures will allow the atmosphere to stabilize along the East Coast. So that definitely will limit the possibility of severe weather right up along the immediate East Coast. In terms of what the European model is stating, the European model is showing a very similar forecast where it does want to bring a trough towards the Midwest and develop a severe weather outbreak as we approach the weekend, where there's going to be plenty of cold air behind it. However, again, like I said, the key difference is that there isn't as much cold air in the European model scenario. We are seeing just enough to where thunderstorms are developing, but not enough to the point where this will be as major of a severe weather outbreak. And we see that the pressure of this low pressure system by the time it approaches the northern Great Lakes is a lot higher, which shows that the European model isn't as confident that this storm will intensify as rapidly as the GFS model. So of course, the chance of a higher level of convection is much smaller thanks to a weaker storm system in general and less and more pressure up along the surface. So eventually the European model does expect this to intensify quite a bit as this approaches eastern Canada, but by that point the storm will be so far north to where it won't be able to tap into that very warm, moist environment that's located along the Gulf Coast states. So the chance of a severe weather threat for the Northeast will definitely subside, especially with the cooler sea surface temperatures up along the Atlantic, which is still hovering just below the 50-degree mark, which is definitely cold enough to stabilize the atmosphere and limit the possibility of a significant severe weather outbreak along the East Coast. However, keep in mind again for a major Arctic blast right behind this chart, because it is likely both of the computer models are agreeing with that, but the European model as well is leaning on the snow being a little bit further northward. So in this scenario, Milwaukee and Chicago are not experiencing any sort of snowfall, but that this could easily change. So I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days. We're just gonna need to wait and see how the trajectory of this storm system will play out and the position that this jet stream will be at by the time we approach this weekend. So I'll keep you guys updated. Now I want to show you guys the 500 millibar height anomaly to really emphasize the point here where the European model, while it is bringing a decent amount of cold air, it isn't necessarily enough to create a very powerful storm as it approaches the Midwest, and not a ton of instability for as significant of a severe weather threat to occur. But taking a look at the GFS model, it's very different. In the GFS's model scenario, we see that the storm is much more powerful. There's much more cold air surrounding this storm system in general. So as a result, this severe weather threat is much more impactful and much more likely to be significant for much of the Mississippi River Valley, where we could see damaging winds, large hail, and possibly tornadoes, especially on the southern side, where the convective available potential energy levels will coincide with very strong wind shear located in the south central portion of the United States. So definitely keep that in mind as we approach weekend, but we're going to need to wait and see how much cold air is behind this trough once we approach this Friday. So I'm going to show you guys a 4-day Storm Prediction Center outlook, and we do see that on day 4, the Storm Prediction Center is now forecasting a possibility of severe weather anywhere between Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas by the time we approach a Friday time frame. So definitely pay close attention to that. Now that the Storm Prediction Center is acknowledging that there could be a severe weather threat by this weekend, the chance that we're going to actually experience it in the Midwest is now far more likely, even though it says a 15%. Typically, the reason why the Storm Prediction Center goes for a conservative 15% when it comes to the Storm Prediction Center outlook is because we're still relatively far out. 4 days out is still pretty far when forecasting severe weather outbreaks, but I will say that more likely than not, some sort of severe weather outbreak will develop by this weekend. So definitely stay tuned over the next several days, because this could be potentially significant and bring tornadoes. Another thing I want to show you guys is the forecasted rainfall over the next 5 days, because over the next 5 days, there's going to be a Gulf low that's going to meander over the Gulf Coast states, bringing plenty of rain where you could experience anywhere from 3 to 5 inches right up along the immediate coast. And since this storm is going to move very slowly, there could be that possibility you might stay in a very heavy rain band for a rain squall for several hours, which could lead to the possibility of flash flooding. And remember, it doesn't take a lot of rain for flash flooding to occur as opposed to regular river flooding. With the flash flood, as long as there's a high rate of rain over a somewhat prolonged period, maybe around an hour, that's enough to cause a significant flash flooding threat. So keep that in mind up along the southern Gulf Coast. And here's my updated tornado outbreak forecast as we approach the weekend. So not much updates compared to yesterday's forecast. We're still 4 to 5 days out from this event occurring, so there's still really time to iron out where exactly the worst of the severe weather will be located. But if you're anywhere in the orange and the red, you need to pay close attention to that possibility. And I did make this map a little bit too conservative. I should have brought the oranges a little bit further westward, because Oklahoma, Kansas, as well as a larger portion of Texas should get involved with severe weather this weekend as well. So definitely keep in mind in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas as well, even though I didn't necessarily shade those regions where you could experience that severe weather. And of course, right behind this trough, there is it is likely that we're going to see a major Arctic blast right behind it, where we could see snow, temperatures much colder than average, and it is going to be definitely much different from what you're going to experience over the next several days, where you're going to experience record warmth. So make sure to be prepared for that the cold temperatures aren't over just yet for much of the United States. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather related content.